Mindset Mashup podcast. Here we are, and we're back with the 5 minute episodes. Today, I've got a mature fellow podcaster, and this is going to be a special one. This guy, when it comes to podcasts, is open, honest, vulnerable, and when I tell you pays attention to the detail, you guys don't even understand the levels, the detail this guy takes it to, and this comes across in the content he creates, the guests he has on, and I just feel really grateful that I've got 5 minutes with this guy today, and I just want to welcome Frankie Lee to the podcast. Frankie, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
George, mate, I appreciate you having me. You're smashing it, man. All these 5 minute episodes, what people don't understand is they take a lot longer than 5 minutes to organise, a lot longer than 5 minutes to film everything you do and everything you're putting in, mate. So keep smashing it.
It's yeah, I appreciate that, man. As you said, I'm a big believer of people often see the result of what gets done in the unseen, and a lot of the things that you and I do, a lot of business people, athletes, anyone that's performing at a high level, often people see the end result, but what really matters is what gets done in the unseen, and you know that from being a boxing trainer. Look, Frankie, the one of the sort of taglines that I noticed on your podcast was break patterns and flip perspectives. And I absolutely love that. And that's what I want to try and help people sort of break through with today. So the point of these 5 minute episodes is I'm going to try and fit a maximum of 3 questions in the next 5 minutes. And I just want to sort of give them the fire, give them some energy, as I said, try and flip their perspective. So my first one for you is, when I was listening to one of your episodes, you spoke a lot about identity. And this is something that really resonates with me. I believe that identity sits at sort of that, it sets the foundation of what I do. And I'm interested to hear from you. How do you think identity has played a part in your daily life?
I think we all get attached to an ideal image of ourselves that's predicated on maybe what our parents thought about us or told us what we were, or maybe our friends have told us what we are. And a lot of the times when you actually strip it back and look at it from afar and look at it more in depth and question every narrative in your life, a lot of the times what you find is you're not actually the person that you think you are. You're actually someone totally different, and your whole life and your whole ladder, every ladder that you've ever lent in your life has been lent against the wrong wall, because you don't truly know the essence of what you're truly about. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that you might think you're this person over here who does this for this reason, but potentially over here you want to do something else in your life because, you know, this actually lights you up. And you might be trying to fit in with a crowd. You might be trying to fit in with what your parents want. And I've seen this throughout my life. And the identity piece came in for me, where for years I identified as a professional boxing trainer, and I put everything into being known as this professional boxing trainer that worked at world title level, that had this boxing gym and all that stuff. And when I stripped it back, what did I really want to do? I wanted to have a podcast. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to use my experience to help benefit people and get into their ears that way. But so I'd got completely misconstrued and taken down a path that wasn't my true calling, so to speak. I was just doing it because it looked good to the outside world, but it didn't feel good to me. I think that's what a lot of people are struggling with, an identity. And if you're listening to this today and you're at this point right now where you're turning up to the world and you're not glowing in every respect in how you feel, I would suggest that you go to a journal right now and you write down on one page who you are, and write down on the other page who you actually truly want to be. And when there's a term that I use in the podcast called radical honesty, and radical honesty is where you sit and you actually say, right, this is who I am in this moment. This is who I want to be. Where's the indiscrepancy, and how am I turning up? How have I got to turn up to the world different in order to be who I truly am? And if you can grasp that concept and use that term radical honesty in every part of your life, you'll free yourself from living a part of your life that's not actually your true calling, that's not actually truly part of you, and you'll stop living for other people and start living for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and I've definitely been caught in the trap before of not giving something up that I should have a long time ago because my identity is so based off of that thing. I'm holding on to it. So, no, I love that, Frankie. And look, I suppose this links in nicely. You've done 122 episodes now, I believe.
120. Well, that's what's published in the world, but yeah, obviously, yeah,
Yeah.
probably recorded in my life, probably about 130, 135, 140.
Now, as you said, that's a lot of hours. And I believe one of the best ways to learn is through communication. Is what we can learn from others. I mean, we've been on this call 3-4 minutes. Prior to this, we had a chat before. I've already learned more, and I think one of the best gifts that we have as people, is being able to communicate with each other. And now, one of the powerful things about social media is that we have access to that. I've said before in my podcast that when I was sort of coming into myself and stepping into who I wanted to be, I was treating podcasts like lectures, and to the point where I was taking notes. So you've done 122 episodes. Now, as I said, that's a lot of hours. Now, what do you believe is something that you believe to be true across all of your guests, which has helped you flip your perspective?
I think the you've got to have the most whole guests have a faith in something bigger than themselves. Now, that can be a religion, that can be the universe, that can be whatever you want it to be. I'm not really fussed on what your beliefs are in that respect, but you are put here for a reason. You have a reason for being here. There is a reason that you're that 1 in 4 million chance that your mum and dad conceived you at the time. Your everything that might have happened to you at this point in life, or got to get to this point in life, might not have been the best route to where you are right now. You might not have had the best run, but what I can tell you is you're here for a reason. And if there's anything that you can do today when you listen to this podcast for 5-10 minutes, like I was saying before, with this radical honesty, I want you to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself an honest question of why do I believe I'm here? Because that is what all the top people do. They ask themselves the question at some point in time, why am I here? And then when they and then they go on a journey of finding out why they're here, and then they align what they're doing with why they're here. And when they start to culminate these two things, then they start to get not only what the outside world terms as success to the exterior, but they get what I term as internal success, which is the fulfillment of doing something that they actually should be doing. So what I'm going to ask you all to do today is ask you this one simple question. Is what I'm doing on the planet right now in this moment what I'm called to do, and what's best to do for the world? Could I be helping myself more, and could I be helping others more by doing something more fulfilling to me? And that's kind of something I've noticed as a general thing between all the guests. The ones that are the most fulfilled and most successful, because success is not all down to just money. If it was just money on the dollar sheet, I've interviewed people worth hundreds of millions that are unhappy, but I've interviewed people that are worth hundreds of millions and fulfilled. And the difference is the faith and the belief in the bigger thing that they're doing it for, and and their drive toward that, not towards the money.
And I love that, and I love the practicality of what people can go and do. So the last one is, what is something that is commonly said, or a common narrative in the world, which you think is easily misinterpreted?
Well, it's not just one thing; it's lots of things.
Yeah.
So there's not one common narrative that you're being guided to that's been misconstrued. I would say that every narrative of your childhood in a school system has been misconstrued, and this is where I want to teach you something called critical thinking. It's like, because I want this to be actionable content that people can actually use, and I know you're along my thought process with this, but you're listening to this right now because you want to improve some part of yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to me, right? So George just asked a really good question there, and the answer is simply this, right? Throughout your life, you're being taught programs in your mind that will make you biased towards certain things and towards certain people and towards certain ways of life and ways of living. And those biases are predominantly taught by, let's just take, they're taught by the school system, and they're taught by your parents. Because at the end of the day, when your parents have you as a child, potentially even if you're the first or you're their second child, they don't really know a lot about parenthood. They're learning on the job, and they're relying on what they teach you to come from what's been taught to them. So they've been taught a set of programs, then they pass these programs on to you. At a lot of points in time, no family goes out there and questions the programmings and questions the narrative of what's being taught. I.e., I've got a lot of Indian friends, and my Indian friends are taught to go out and be doctors, to be accountants, to be lawyers, and all these highly top educational positions. But I've got Indian friends that don't want to do that. That can't be a fit for every one of my Indian friends. They can't all be accountants, lawyers, and doctors there. But that's a program in their culture that's taught at a family level. So if there's anything that you can do, there isn't one common question that I would question. I would question every narrative, every piece of information that you've got in your life, because just because my mum loves me, my dad loves me, but often they teach me the wrong information, and they've taught me the wrong information in the past, right? Not because they wanted to steer me in the wrong direction, because the people in my life that taught me all these things have taught me these things because they wanted to teach me the best of what they could in the time that they're in.
And they want to protect you.
They want to protect you, right? But they want to teach you the best they can in the time that they're in for what they know. But what people know and what the truth is are two different things, and don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Even if you're a guy out there with a girlfriend, or a girlfriend, or a girl out there with a boyfriend right now, and your partners are teaching you things, you have to objectively question whether that's empowering, disempowering, whether that's right for you. Whether it's before you take on this information and start wearing it like a badge of honor. First, you want to try the information on and see if it fits with it. See if it actually physically fits with how you feel in yourself, how you want to move, how you want to carry yourself. Because every part of communication in life, me communicating with you, Tracy down the road communicating with Brian down the road, or everyone judges every person predicated on the communication, and your communication will either take you to the moon, worth millions and millions, and give you every opportunity under the world, or it will distance you from other human beings. And all that communication has come predicated on the programming, and if you've questioned it or not. So like, there's a common theme in this podcast, and the theme is question everything you're taught. Ask yourself, does that fit for me? Do I actually believe that? Is that right? Is that even true? Is that even true? Have I been taught something my whole life that I've believed or chose to believe because I've never asked if it's actually even true?
Love that. Love that. Well, listen, I know that's probably a little over 5 minutes, but listen, that's worth every extra minute over that. And listen, I don't care if you listen to this and don't implement all of it, but just implement one. Just listen to one thing Frankie said and go, do you know what? I'm going to do that one thing. That's all we want. Just try one of those, then listen to it back and then try another, then listen to it back and try another. Look, this is all about small changes, but remember, small steps, big distances. Listen, it's your boy, Real Talk George, here with Frankie Lee. I'm going to put Frankie Lee's handle. I'm going to put a link to his podcast in there. Listen, go listen to Frankie's podcast as well. If you're here from my audience, it's the Frankie Lee podcast. And listen, what you just got in 5 minutes, he provides in 1 hour, 2 hour episodes. He has some of the most amazing guests on the planet. But listen, for now, thank you for your time. God bless, and we'll see you next episode. Let's go.